Welcome to the Commercial Property Podcast. My name is Suzi Carter. I am a chartered surveyor. I've been involved in commercial property in the UK for 30 years and I've done hundreds of commercial property deals. I'm here to be your guide through the commercial property market, whether you're an experienced investor or whether you're literally thinking about dipping your toe in the world of commercial real estate. I will be here talking to you about all kinds of things commercial real estate in the UK, and I've also got some fantastic guest experts who are joining me. So please do subscribe if you'd like to follow, and if you'd like any more help or information on commercial real estate, please do click www.suzicarter.com, which is my website, and you can find out all the ways I can help you. So stay tuned for this week's episode. Welcome back to the Commercial Property Podcast, and today we're talking about something very seasonal, which is December, and why this could be a month that will deliver deals that you hadn't even thought about if you keep your foot on the gas during this festive season. So let me talk to you a little bit about why December is such an important month if you're sourcing commercial property, and kind of why that is. So I don't know about you, but I wasn't feeling festive until we hit the 1st of December, then suddenly feeling incredibly festive. And if we're feeling like that, then everybody else in the market is feeling like that too. There's Christmas parties happening. It's a short month work-wise. And the temptation really is to completely take your foot off the gas and to basically just kind of tread water in December until you get to the new year, when you're going to be hitting the year with great conviction and enthusiasm. Now, there is another way to look at this, because December can be a fantastic month for finding deals. So I'm going to take you through some of the reasons why that is and what you can do about it. And I've brought this podcast to the beginning of December because obviously some of you may be listening back to this, but this will have relevance for every single year. Because it's so important to get a head start this month. So the first reason why December can be a great month to find properties is because there's a year end, and that might be an obvious statement, but there's also financial year ends as well. So it's quite late now, kind of October, November, December. I always find that if vendors are wanting to sell before the end of the year, they start putting properties on the market. But in the market that we're in, the down market that we're in, their expectations may not have been met. Now, don't forget that a vendor, or especially somebody who's owned their property perhaps for a long time, and we're seeing lots of transfers of kind of commercial property from kind of baby boomers into kind of newer investors, and they will see their properties as something that might have put their children through universities, paid the school fees, paid off their mortgage, whatever else it is. And so vendors are never naturally kind of inclined to go in at low prices to begin with. But obviously over time, you can actually see the motivation increasing from vendors, especially if there's a reason why they want to sell. That could be retirement or illness, or obviously, sadly, commercial investors could have passed away and their family could be selling it. It could be financial, that they need to refinance and the rates have changed, loan to values have changed, tenants have left, all kinds of reasons why vendors can be motivated. And the longer a property's been on the market, obviously, especially in a market where purchasers are more sensitive about purchase price, and then there is a tendency for these properties to be on the market longer. Unless you've got some form of commercial to residential permitted development angle, which is really kind of getting top-notch prices in this market, then if the property's on for too much money and the vendor's not willing to budge, then you'll find that these properties will be on the market for a relatively long time. Now, you can do extensions in Chrome on Rightmove and Zoopla Commercial, and you can find out how long properties have been on the market for. You can use packages like CoStar to find this out. But if you've been stalking a property or you've had an offer that you've put in and you're following it up, and of course I always recommend that you follow up offers. Don't just leave them hanging, because if you don't follow up, then somebody else will. Then you will find that perhaps by the end of the year, your vendor may be more motivated to sell. If they gave themselves like the kind of artificial deadline of the end of the year, if you can move quickly, and that is really important, we'll talk about that in a minute, but if you can move quickly, then there is still a chance to get deals done so that vendors can achieve their objectives of getting a sale by the end of the year. So vendors can be very motivated at the end of the year to sell. Now, of course, you need to position yourself as a buyer of choice, and usually that means a cash buyer. So it doesn't have to be your own cash, it could be investor cash or JV cash, but it's really, really important to stress speed and certainty. So that's kind of speed of moving forwards in terms of I can complete within 3 to 4 weeks or exchange within 3 to 4 weeks. And I'm buying cash because, of course, finance takes longer to organise. So the speed and certainty angle is really important to get those deals done quickly. Now, of course, if a vendor wants to sell before the end of the year, the best course of action or the most likely way of doing that is to put properties in auction. So when you're looking at auction catalogues, look for properties that have been on the market for a while with agents. It might be that vendors are actually saying, you know what, we'll just shove it into auction as a last resort. They're the ones to really concentrate on and look at. And auction catalogues in December can be a fantastic source of opportunities. So do not miss those opportunities in December. Take a look at those auction catalogues and kind of do correlate them with kind of whether those properties have been on the market, how long they've been on the market for, because you might find some real gold mines in some of those auction catalogues if you look carefully enough with the right pair of spectacles. And of course, there's a reason why you're one of very few people probably working in December and looking at these properties in December. And that's because a lot of people will have stopped for Christmas. A lot of people will be in wind down mode. Oh, I'll start my saucy again in January. I've heard that so many times. And so because of that, you might be one of very few people looking in your particular market for properties and actually willing to put the hard yards in over the Christmas period and get a deal done. Now, I know that solicitors kind of pack up, but you know, if you choose the right solicitor, they will get the deals done for you. So there's definitely less competition in December. There's definitely less people around and stalking deals. There's a quieter market all round. And therefore, if you're one of the very few motivated purchasers who are, and when I say motivated, I don't mean motivated to buy at any price. What I mean is motivated to actually do the work in December, then you might be surprised by what you can actually find. And because it's quieter in December, now I know we've got Christmas dues and all kinds of stuff happening, but when I was in the corporate world, when I was an agent, when I was a client, we worked very, very hard in December because we wanted to meet these year's end of year deadlines, and so that, you know, they don't move, we had to get them done. But also, you know, we wanted to get deals done, and we were generally we were freer from all the general work. So when I was an agent, yes, there were some deals we really had to get over the line for clients. But other than that, there was a lot less inquiries coming in. There was a lot less general activity in the market. There was a lot of Christmas dues. And so agents can be more responsive in December, you know, especially if you kind of hit them in the next couple of weeks. They can definitely be more responsive because they've got less to do. So other than probably a handful of deals they need to get over the line, probably less vendors are putting properties on with them before Christmas. They might be doing some valuations for kind of New Year marketing. But other than that, they do tend to be a bit more responsive. So if you're struggling with commercial agents and finding they don't call you back, or, you know, worried about you know, kind of building rapport with them, you might find that they're more willing to do that in December. And of course, because it is the festive season, and if you're doing viewing, you could always suggest a festive drink, or, you know, it works with some agents and not others. But, you know, it's great. It's a great opportunity to build more informal relationships with agents. And if there's, you know, your local business networking meetings that have some Christmas party or whatever, then go along, because you really do get to know local stakeholders, not just agents and property people, but also property owners and the tenants, you know, businesses who actually want to take property. So those Christmas dues can actually be a fantastic source of network and kind of relationships that you may not get any other time of the year. So again, another reason in property, we always like to mix business with pleasure. So if you can mix business with pleasure, you could get a really good outcome there. So definitely it's worth keeping your foot on the gas to Christmas. It really is a source of deals where there's lots of motivation in certain cases, not all cases, of course. You get more responsive agents, and potentially you get a lot less competition in the market because everybody else has packed up, everybody else is drinking eggnog and having a lovely time under the Christmas tree, whereas you're actually looking at those auction catalogues, you're looking at properties where there might be some decent vendor motivation, and you are really following through on those leads. And if nothing else, it'll show agents, potentially vendors as well, that you are serious. You are a serious investor who's willing to put the work in, and that can count, dividends for 2026. And the other reason that December is so important, I think, for property investing is because it's a great time to get yourself ready for Q1. And, if you're like a lot of people, myself included, you're very, very fired up on January the 1st, 2nd of January, whenever you're back to work. And that's great, of course. But if you can put the groundwork in December, then you'll find that this January becomes so much easier. So that could be, switching on your sourcing pipeline or continuing your sourcing pipeline. If you are very good at sourcing and you're looking at leads every single month, if you don't do that in December, then January is going to be a fallow month for you. You really need to keep that momentum up until the end of the year. So if you can just keep that kind of flywheel going for December, then obviously that's a really good thing. You can also be putting your business plans together. You can be reaching out to agents because they're more responsive and asked to be put on their off-market deal lists. A lot of deals in commercial get done off-market. And so, if you can kind of be building rapport, you can also be doing viewings with agents. And again, building those relationships and asking them leading questions when you're on the viewings, like, do you ever get anything else like this on the market? Do you ever do deals off market? Is it possible to put me on that list? What's the activity in the market? If you've got anything coming up in January that might be of interest, I'm happy to move quickly. If you could send that through to me, you'd be surprised at, because there's fewer investors out there, how you might actually steal a march on other investors just by asking those kind of questions. And I always think the quality of our questions, especially when we're building relationships, is one of the most important things. And so that those quality questions to be asking when you're doing viewings, when you're speaking to commercial agents. But you can put your business plans together for Q1. And, really, I always advocate starting with the end in mind, thinking about where you want to get to by the end of next year. And for those of you who've kind of read some of the books about breaking your year down into quarters, there's a really good book called The 12-Week Year, where it advocates basically...
This episode is brought to you by Bond Finance Limited, your trusted partner for commercial property mortgage solutions. Are you an experienced residential property investor about to diversify into commercial property, looking for funding options? Bond Finance can help. Whether you're planning to expand, refinance, or make a major property investment, Bond Finance provides expert advice with access to a wide range of lenders, from high street to specialist. Book a free discovery session today to explore how we can tailor commercial funding solutions to your unique investment strategy. Visit www.bondfinanceltd.co.uk and take the next step in your commercial finance journey.
It's very kind of human nature for, if you've got a whole year, you've got 365 days, you've got 12 months to do something. If you don't achieve your goals in the first quarter, you think, oh, it's okay, I can do it in the next quarter. If you don't achieve it the next quarter, you think, oh, I'll do it the next quarter. And before you know it, the year's run out. So if you can structure your year in basically 12-week segments, so each 12 weeks is the end of a year, obviously you've got a much more pressing deadline to get your activity done. So if you can structure that in December and be really clear on the plan, really clear on your sources of marketing and how you can find some of these deals, then you'll just enter January in so much better place than perhaps if you've just kind of drunk too much, eaten too much in December. There's plenty of time for that on Christmas Day, but it's a great chance to really kind of get ahead of the market. So definitely kind of have some balance in December, enjoy the festive season, but just make sure that you don't take your foot off the gas too early. It's really, really important for your own kind of competitive advantage, but also for finding some of the very best deals that I think that come up all year. They come up in December. Look at those auction catalogues. Look at properties that have been on the market for some time. You know, if you've been following up on properties, give it one or two last goes to try and get deals under offer, and you might be surprised at what you can get. So happy shopping in December, and I think you might find that it'll pay dividends. So I will see you next time on the Commercial Property Podcast.